good? Okay. Looking good. Hello, everybody. So, looks like Sabine was in here. Oh, and got hit by Richard Lash. Hey, Sabine, you better be careful, man, because I'm not gonna hold my moderators back on you, dude. Like, you gotta be nice, man. My moderators are good people, so if you're freaking them out, they're gonna hit you, man. Well, hey Richard Lash, how's it going, man? I'm doing awesome today. So this is the new setup. I'm not even gonna let that slide, Sabine. My moderators are awesome. I will take that message out just because of that. My moderators kick ass. Okay, so this is the new setup, and as you can see, you can actually. I gotta point out a whole bunch of things. I did so many things to make this setup the way that it is right now. So first of all, as you can see, you can read the card. Isn't that amazing, guys? You can read the card. It's amazing! Go figure that you can be in one of my streams and actually read the card that I'm working on. The next thing is, I have a face cam now. So now we have the high quality camera so that you guys can actually read the card. And that's your problem, Sabine. And I'm glad you like it, Richard. I'm glad you guys think it looks good. I worked all day getting this whole thing set up this way. It was a major pain in the butt. The hardest part is this guy right here, the camera you guys are seeing through. This thing was such a pain in the butt to set up because it's not just the high quality camera that you guys can see through, but check this out. Whoop! It's on a crane too. And setting this camera up on this crane was an absolute insane amount of work to get done. It took me many hours to get it set up because the thing is that this crane is actually a microphone crane. So it isn't designed to hold web cameras. So I spent hours today jury rigging this crane so that it would hold this camera. So I'm really proud of it. I spent a ton of time and a lot of work getting this crane to work right. And as you can see, sometimes it kind of has some trouble focusing a little bit, but once it gets focused, it really looks nice. So let me kind of rearrange it just a little bit. Yeah, I do. Yeah, Sabine, I basically paint magic cards. I'm looking into getting into other kinds of painting too. I'm thinking maybe eventually I'll try some other card games as well. But, this is primarily what I do. I also do canvas and things like that. So yeah, it's basically painting and altering magic cards. That's pretty much what I do. I'll do a few other things here and there, but right now this is kind of my focus. So yeah, the crane was a big deal, and I'm really happy about it. Also, for anybody who doesn't know, I'm actually located in a different spot as well. I used to kind of be over there in the corner, and it was a very small workspace. It's the biggest thing you've ever painted / altered. I painted a canvas painting, which is actually located over there. And it's not that big, but that's the biggest thing I've painted so far. It's like about a painting about this big. So I can actually show it. Here, hold on a second. Let me grab it just to kind of show it off. And I put a lot of time into it. It actually took me like a week to complete it, but I'm pretty happy about it. This is my canvas painting. Here, let me kind of get it up there. It's a koi pond with a lotus in it. And that's pretty much the biggest thing I've painted so far. But yeah, other than that, I pretty much just do magic cards. I'm looking into probably doing some more canvas painting eventually. But right now, I'm just kind of sticking to this. Um, God, I'm trying to get this card to get refocused. Um, there we go. Okay, so now you guys can read it. Oh, no, it changed its mind again. I've kind of learned that I have to get it really, really close to the card to get it to focus right. There we go. Awesome. Okay, so that'll be kind of something I'll have to mess around with, um, getting it focused properly. And I also have some coffee here. Mm. Okay. So, anyways, yeah, I used to paint on a small table over there in the corner, and I only did that because that's where my computer used to be located. So I actually also spent some time kind of rearranging my room a little bit because this is where my art table is, and it's kind of out of frame, but I have a ton of stuff here. Lots of painting materials. I got an easel here for painting on canvas. There's cards all over the table. I know you guys can't really see it, but there are lots of cards all over the place. And yeah, so this is kind of the new setup, and this is how I want to move on with everything. So you guys can see my face, and you guys can also see the card, and it looks awesome. So I decided to paint a Death's Head Buzzard today, and there are a few reasons why I picked this card. This is not part of the pack that I'm making. This is just something. The only reason I picked this was, well, there were a few reasons, but the main thing was I wanted to do a card that I could experiment with the stream, because I didn't really know how everything was going to go with all this. I was worried I was going to be having some kind of, technical issues, maybe some audio issues, because I actually had to, when I set this all up, I had a problem with my microphone. It was acting up and it wasn't picking up any sound. So I had to completely reconfigure my microphone and everything. I'm assuming that it's doing fine now because I can see the input capture fluctuating properly, and it seems like you guys can hear me fine. So I don't think the microphone is causing any more problems. But when I was first setting this up, it was giving me a bad time. So I just wanted something that I could have a little bit of fun doing, and it wasn't part of the main pack, and I wanted to just kind of experiment, because this is the first time I've done the stream with the new camera and the face cam and the new setup and all that. So it's all experimental. I'm hoping I can just keep it this way, but, it's kind of nice because I also have, like, an extra little table off here to the side with my paint palette on it, and you guys can, I can move the camera around and things like that, which I will probably be doing quite a bit. What I'll do is I will zoom the camera out, up and away from the card, so you guys won't be able to see it very well. But every time I want to take a break and kind of show off what I've done, I'll bring the camera back down close to the card so you guys can see what I've done. So let's go ahead and just jump right into this. So I'm going to kind of zoom this guy out a little bit. Oh, I love doing that. It's so cool. This crane is so awesome. I'm so proud of it. Like I said, it took me a long time to get this crane to work right. So I'm really proud of all the effort I put into it. The second coming of Bob Ross. Oh, thank you, Sabine. I appreciate it, man. I've definitely been called that a few different times. It's actually pretty humorous to me. And I love Bob Ross. He's an amazing man. Rest in peace. Yeah, he definitely has inspired me to do certain things with my own artwork. And there's definitely, I want to watch more of his stuff so that I can learn more based on his his style and things like that. So I'm going to get this card out of the way because I want to bring my palette up. And I'm going to, what colors? I think I'm going to start with some blues because there's lots of blues going on in here. I really like the dark blue coloration and the light blue. It's very nice for the rest of the piece. And so I'm going to start with that. And let me also kind of talk about this card a little bit, too, because I actually really, really like the Death's Head Buzzard for a whole bunch of interesting reasons. So I've had these cards. I have 4 copies of Death's Head Buzzard. It was in a deck a long time ago. Long time ago. I'm talking about, like, this was a card in a deck where back in the days when I was a small kid. And it was in the very early days when I had no idea what I was doing, but I was building like a bird deck, like just like a deck that had like bird tribalism, I guess. And so somebody recommend. So when I used to go to the card shop that I used to go to when I was a kid, the store owner was kind of, helping me learn how to play the game and things like that. And uh, he basically was kind of giving me suggestions for like cards to get and put into this bird tribalism deck that I was doing. And Death's Head Buzzard was one of the sets of cards that he recommended to me. And so, like, that's kind of how I first got into using the card, and how I acquired my original 4 copies of it. And it was really good. But the thing is, too, is that at that young age of learning how to play Magic, I didn't really understand how to use the card properly. So it was very common for me to play with Death's Head Buzzard and then accidentally kill all my own creatures when I didn't want to do that. And like, I eventually got to a point of where like I took the card out and stopped using it for a period of time. And it wasn't until way later when I actually better understood how to actually play with the Death's Head Buzzard and use it to its full potential. Because the thing that makes Death's Head Buzzard so cool is it's practically like, if you do it right and you play it right, it's like a suicide bombing Wrath of God for like weenies. So it can be really crafty to mess around with, and people get really scared of it when you know what you're doing with it. So I always kind of really liked... Oh, I messed up my white. Well, whatever. I can just make more white. It's not a big deal. So, once I got used to playing it, it became a real powerhouse card because it would just come in and, like, sweep everything. And I even eventually, like, I gave up on the bird tribalism, like, because that deck sucked. It really did. And, I eventually built, like, a deck that, like, allowed me to return creatures to my hand. So I think it was built around an enchantment called Haunted Crossroads, which was just simply, I think it was like a 3-mana enchantment, and it says pay a black and return a card from your graveyard to your hand. So I used to like play a mono black deck that used Haunted Crossroads and a whole bunch of cards that you would like sacrifice and let suicide bomb and things like that. And Death's Head Buzzard was a really powerful card in that old deck that I used to play. And so it was really fun to use. But the thing is that I did have a lot of fun using it. But there is one thing in particular that really made the Death's Head Buzzard stand out to me. Like, it wasn't until much later, and I'm talking about, because this was, when I first started using it, I was probably in middle school, like early middle school or something like that, which is when I was really beginning into playing Magic. And this blue is not quite right. Maybe it is. I think I'm going to test it first. So the Death's Head Buzzard, when I really got into the card, was actually not during a time of me playing with the card, which is really funny. Hold on, I'm going to turn on my light real quick. I also kind of have this like light setup going on over here that's kind of interesting. So, yeah, that color is way off. It's kind of... Well, I'm trying to spread it out a bit more so I can get a better understanding of how it's going to work with the rest of it. And it's not right. I think I might have to... For this particular area, I'm probably going to... Here, let me bring the camera down again. Swoop! Oop! Runs right into my light. So this blue here it's not dark enough. Let me just get it really nice and close. God, I love doing that. It feels so good to be able to do that. To just bring the camera in real close to really show you guys what I'm doing. It feels so cool. So yeah, I'm trying to get this blue right here, and it's not quite right. I'm thinking maybe I'll have to darken the blue coloration. So I might add like, well, you know what? Let's try the regular ultramarine blue, and see like if that's too dark or the wrong hue of color, and we'll go from there. So anyways, what I was saying was that the way that I really got into using Death's Head Buzzard actually had nothing to do with playing with the card itself. It actually ended up being that if you guys have ever heard of this game called, it was on the Xbox, it was called Magic Battlegrounds. And I don't know if any of you guys ever played that game, but that game was amazing. I loved that game. And it was funny because it was an old game when me and my friends were playing it, but it was so much fun. It was one of my best friends at the time had an old school Xbox, and he whipped it out, and he went to a... God, that color is also not quite right. I think I might try to lay over the dark blue with the slightly lighter color of blue to see if I can get that a little bit better to what I want it to be. So this friend of mine went to like an old game shop and managed to buy a copy of Magic Battlegrounds for like $5 on the Xbox. And he got really into it, and then he taught me and all my friends how to play it. And we had such a blast because it was like the game taught you how to play Magic the Gathering, like the card game. But it did it in this totally unique way that wasn't actually playing with cards. So it was very like unique and interesting. And it had like, but the thing is that it was limited in what you could play with. So like you didn't have like this crazy amount of cards that you had access to. It was like you had a few like specific spells that you were allowed to use, and like you generally, there were no gold like cards or anything, or gold spells like multicolored spells. There were only monocolored spells, but you could like become multiple colors and use like up to like 2 different colors. So you could like be blue and white, so you could play with blue spells and white spells. And it was this really cool game that we loved. And one of the really useful spells in the game was Death's Head Buzzard. You could like summon this guy in the game, and he was so good. He was so powerful. So like the way that the game ran was that you would summon spells and they would come to life, and like they would go into the battleground, and like the battleground was like a field with like a border in the middle, and you would have your side and the opponent's side. And like if you ran, you could like run into the opponent's side of the battlefield, but if you did that, you would take 1 damage per second, I think it was. So like just being on the opponent's side of the battleground would hurt you. But like you could be sneaky because you could like run into the like battlefield on the opposite side like really, really fast. And they basically made it so that your character could deal 1 damage to something. So like you could run up and like if they had like a little 1/1 character that was like coming to attack you, you could run from your side of the battlefield to the opponent's side of the battlefield, and if you were fast enough, you could smack the 1/1 with your basic attack, and it would die. And if you did it quick enough, you could do it faster than the amount of time it takes for you to take damage from being on the opponent's side of the battlefield. So, like, it was really a cool game, and it did all these really interesting things. Like, for example, like, the Death's Head Buzzard, you could, like, summon, like, 2 of them at the same time. And then right after you summon them, you would, like, let them fly forward a little bit. And, like, if your opponent was trying to do something to, like, kill them, you could sprint up to your own Death's Head Buzzards and smack them for 1 damage and kill them, and then sweep the battlefield with them. So you could kill 2 of them at the same time, and then you would deal -2/-2 to every creature on the battlefield instead of just -1/-1. And it was this really cool mechanic that just allowed you to just own the battlefield. It was so awesome. And playing that game with using Death's Head Buzzard is actually like what made Death's Head Buzzard's such an interesting, like, card to me. It wasn't actually playing, like, because the card itself is a good card, but it wasn't until I played that really interesting Xbox Magic game that I really enjoyed, like, Death's Head Buzzard. So it's kind of got this interesting, like I said, like, I have a lot of nostalgia for this card. Because it was important to me when I was really, really young, and then it became important to me again when I got older, and I was like, I think I was like in college when we were playing that game. So like I said, it was old at the time when we were playing it, but it was still so much fun. And me and my friends always kind of wish that Wizards of the Coast would go back and like make a sequel to that game. But they never did, and honestly, they never will. Hey, Mezzy, good to see ya. I'm looking through my camera crane to read the chat. So I'm like, what's going on? Hey, Mez, so I'm setting up, you're looking at a whole brand new setup for my painting station. And this is all totally new, and I'm really proud of it. Check it out. I got this crane. Whoop, whoop. You guys getting sick yet? Whoop, whoop, whoop. I love it. I love it. I spent so much time putting this together, and I'm so proud of everything I did. So, but yeah, so this card means a lot to me. I thought it was really cool, and I've had these copies of this card. I have like 4 copies of them, and I just wasn't doing anything with them anymore, and I was like, well, you know what? Maybe I'll paint one today. I think that might be kind of fun. And the thing is, too, is I really like the old style of cards. Like, and it's like I like doing the new ones too. But the thing is that if there's something I've learned from painting the newer cards and the older cards, it's that in my opinion, the older cards look a lot more attractive when you paint them, because like the thing that makes because there are some factors of the new style, like the modern style of Magic cards, that kind of come out ugly sometimes when you're painting them. And the main thing that really bugs me about the modern style cards, like their borders and everything, is they have like a bar that they put everything in. So like for example, the word Death's Head Buzzard, if it was in the modern style, it would be inside of a bar. And like the creature type and stuff like that would be like, uh-oh. Is my camera having trouble? Uh-oh. Can you guys see anything out of my camera? Uh-oh. What's going on here? Hold on, something happened to my camera. Hold on a second. Is it okay on your guys' end? Because it froze on my side. I can see that my normal camera, for my face camera, is working fine. But it seems like this camera is not doing good, and I don't know what happened here. Oh, gee whiz. Hold on a second. That's not good. Yeah, it's frozen on your guys' side too. Okay, let me see. I think I might... Oh, jeez. Hold on. Let me see if I can fix this real quick. Yeah, it froze hardcore. Okay, hold on a second. I'm going to try and turn it off and then turn it back on. Let me unlock it. Okay, hold on a second. I'm gonna try and get this all fixed. I don't know what's going on here, but I'm gonna try and fix it. Oh gee whiz. What's going on here? Okay. Okay, can you guys see? Is it working? Okay, it looks like it's good on my end. Is it good on your guys' end? God, that was weird. I don't know why it's never done that. Well, I can't say it's never done that simply because I haven't really been. I basically have had both of these cameras running pretty much half of the entire day today. because I was kind of experimenting with them and trying to make sure that they all worked right. That's the first time, and I mean, like I said, I've only set it up today. That's the first time I've seen it do that, so hopefully it won't do that again. But I'll keep an eye on it, because that was super weird, and I didn't like that at all. But I'm glad it's back to normal. Good coffee. Made it myself. It's delicious. But yeah, so we really enjoyed playing that Magic Battlegrounds game, and we kind of wished that they would have made a sequel to it. But oh yeah, I was talking about the style of the old cards versus the newer cards. So the thing that really bugs me about the newer cards is that the modern borders are all of these like boxes and stuff like that. They're all kind of like boxed in, and like generally I just like will paint around the boxes because that looks the best. But when I'm painting on the older style cards, here, let me bring it down so I can show you guys. Like, you guys can kind of see here, like how there we go. You can kind of see how like I'm going around the title instead of being inside of like a bar, and I really like that effect. I like how that ends up looking. It just looks nicer. Like, it looks like the words are kind of floating and everything. And it's just kind of like on the card instead of being this awkward like block that's floating. And I don't know, I think it looks nicer. I really do. So I actually like painting. I think that when I paint older cards, it just ends up looking nicer. I'm going to change something because it's bothering me. There we go, fixed it. My handy dandy toothpick. Just go ahead and put that right in there. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to zoom back out again. Kind of move that light back a little bit so it's not super intense, but I can still see it. God, that looks awful. I'm still trying to figure out how to get the lighting right while simultaneously preventing glare. And that's one of the only issues I've been having with this new setup. I don't know. Well, like I said, if I really want to show you... Well, here, let me try turning the light off. And, because I know it looks great on your guys' end, but then it's, like, really dark on my end. So, I'll just work with it like this for a little bit, and we'll see how it comes out. But anyways, yeah, I actually like the appearance of the older style cards better, because they look nicer when you paint them. Like, that's my thing about it, is when you paint them, they look much, much nicer. And there's also some older cards I want to get my hands on specifically for painting. Like, I was planning on, one of the things I really want to paint, and like I only recently, like I've always loved this card, but I've never actually owned one until very recently, is I love the card Masticore. Like the old Urza, I think it's Urza's Destiny. Masticore is so cool. It's such a cool card. And the art itself is like really striking. It's very like colorful and weird and just out there. And it, like, the best part about it is that it looks nothing like an actual artifact, like, at all. Like, it looks like something you would actually find, like, as a living creature out in the wild, which is what makes it so interesting. And, I really want to paint one. So, like, and the thing is that's really cool is that they're actually not that expensive. So I was thinking about, like, buying, like, 2 or 3 copies of, the old Urza's Destiny, Masticore. And, like, I'll probably, like, buy, like, 2 or 3 of them so that I could have, like, 2 of them to keep and, like, 1 of them to paint. Because they're pretty cheap. They're not that expensive. And another thing, too, is that I kind of want to get a foil one, too. Just to have a foil one. Because I'm pretty sure there were foils in Urza's Destiny. So, if there were foils in Urza's Destiny, I might try and see if I can find a copy of Masticore. I'm going to turn this light on again because it's really bugging me. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry the glare is so bad. I'll find something to do about that eventually. But yeah, I just really like Masticore, and I've actually like thought it was cool for a very long time, but I've never actually owned one or played with one. But I actually bought one very recently to put into my Power Cube, and I haven't actually like played with it yet because it's brand spanking new. Like I got my Masticore yesterday. It arrived in the mail yesterday, and I just basically sleeved it up into my cube and threw it in there. And now I'm waiting for one of my best friends to come over and play cube with me, so that I can finally see the Masticore in action. Because there's a lot of people. It's interesting. I was reading some commentary about it. I always like reading like the old comments about older cards online, and to see what people say about it. And it's really interesting because like there's a lot of the conversations that you see talking about Masticore. They say like oh god, this thing was such a powerhouse like back in the day, but now it's like nobody likes it anymore. Like because and it's sad because it's because of power creep. You know, there's so much power creep in Magic that it's you don't you know the older cards that used to be really cool and like really powerful and have like this major impact, it kind of sucks because they look pathetic now because of power creep. And it's I still think it's a cool card. I still like the old cards that you underestimate my power. It's true. Um, for any of you guys who have actually like seen like a Masticore, like a real Masticore play out in like the decks that it was designed for, it was a freaking monster. Like it was cuz like it just dominated everything because like it was a 4 mana 4/4, which, back in the days of like Urza's Destiny, a 4 mana 4/4 was so good because it's like I always kind of like compare cards based on what I call mana cost to power toughness ratio, I guess. And basically, so like, if you're paying 4 mana for a creature and you get a 4/4 for 4 mana, you're doing good. Like, that's how cards like that should be built. Because, like, that's like the average, right? That's like the average for, like, you're paying 4 mana for 4 power and 4 toughness. And generally, people will also say, like, the only number that really matters is power and not necessarily toughness. So sometimes people will say, like, a 4 mana 4/3 is also fine, like, because the -1 toughness is not that big of a deal. So, like, that basically means, like, and this is kind of, like I said, how I evaluate, like, creature cards, is if you're paying 4 mana for a 4/4, and that's what, like, if you're paying 4 mana for a 4/4, any other abilities attached to that card are cream on the top. They're totally free. So, like, for example, like, to give a better example of, like, that state of mind, I would say, like, for example, if you paid 3 mana for a 2/2 with flying, that is appropriately costed. Because you're paying 2 mana for 2 power and 2 toughness, and then you're paying 1 mana for flying. Thus, you have a 3 mana 2/2 with flying. So, like, that's basically, like, appropriate because you're paying for the ability. So you would pay 1 mana for each extra ability attached to a card. So, like, so that means that if you get a card that is a 3 mana 3/3 with flying, that means that the flying is free. You're not paying for it, which that means that card is really powerful because you're essentially getting the ability completely free of charge. So, like, that's how I evaluate, like, creature cards, like, whether or not they're good, is, like, you have to base it off of, like, the mana cost and, like, the amount of power and toughness that you get for the mana cost, and then what is given to you for free or what are you paying for in extra. So, with that idea in mind, Masticore is a 4 mana 4/4 with 2 extra abilities that are totally, like, free on the card. And I mean, you do have to pay for those abilities, like, at the time that you want to use them. But the fact that they're even there and they don't add to the cost of the creature at the time that you are casting it, make it obscenely powerful. So, like, you have a 4 mana 4/4 with pay 2 mana to deal 1 damage to any creature on the board, and then pay 2 mana to regenerate the Masticore. Like, back in that era of time, like, when Urza's Destiny was, like, the set to be playing, like, that was obscene. Like, it was just, like, you're paying 4 mana for 4/4, and then at any moment you can pay 2 mana to make it so that it can't be killed for regeneration, and then you can pay 2 mana to ping something. So, like, oh, and by the way, it also has the drawback of every upkeep you have to discard a card, or otherwise you sacrifice Masticore. So, like, that was considered to be its drawback at the time. And, honestly, like, I don't see, like, discarding effects like that to be a... Yeah, and you could just pitch a squee. That's so true, Bo. That's so true. In fact, actually, one of the older comments talking about Masticore actually even mentioned that combo. Like, just pitch a squee to him, and then get it back every turn. But, like, in my general opinion, I don't even see discarding as, like, a downside anymore. Like, you know, like, most decks that have, like, cards that have, like, discarding effects in them work around that problem. Like, there's so many ways to get around that as a problem. And, like, so I don't even see... That's why, like, for example, like, most recently, in... I think it was, like, the most recent core set, they printed that, like, 3 mana dinosaur that's, like, I think it's, like, a 3 mana 5/5 or a 3 mana 7/7. I can't remember what it is. And it's black. And it says, like, every turn you have to discard a card. Like, I think it's only you discard 1 card. That card is so obscenely powerful. Like, in my opinion, that that card has only one... Like, that dinosaur, that black dinosaur, that forces you to discard a card every turn to keep it alive, only has one drawback. And that drawback, in my opinion, isn't even the discarding effect. The drawback on that card is the fact that it's black. That's, in my opinion, the one problem with that card is that it's mono black. Like, I think that if that card was okay, I think that if that card, like, it's already ridiculously powerful, but if that card was blue, it would be bonkers. And then if that card was colorless, it would be flat broken. It would be just obscenely, absolutely, completely broken. So, like, Masticore is broken. It's a colorless 4 mana 4/4 that forces you to discard every turn, but you get to pay 2 to regenerate it whenever you want, and you get to pay 2 to ping something for a damage, like, whenever you have the mana for it. So it's like, what people used to do was they would, like, run back in, like, the Urza's block. They would play mono blue decks that would run 4 copies of Morphling and 4 copies. I guess they would maybe run, like, 2 or 3 copies of Masticore, I guess. And so, like, and it would just be ridiculous because you would just draw tons of cards, counter everything, leave your mana open, and spend all your mana on Morphling and Masticore to win you the game. It was just ridiculous. It was just absolutely ridiculous. And it was so absolutely oppressive. Like, it would just take over everything. And, like, and that was back in the days when, and I miss it, too. Because, like, what's sad is you don't see this stuff in, like, Arena or anything like that. It was back in the days of what they used to call Drago. Which is, basically, you would play a mono blue deck called Drago, and it would basically be full of control, like counter spells and things like that, and draw spells. And then other than counter spells and draw spells and maybe a few extra like combat tricks, you would just have Morphlings and Masticores. So like you would fill the board with Morphlings, like you would have like a Morphling or two, and you would like all you need is one Morphling and one Masticore. And then you would just play your turn as Drago. And basically you would have like you would draw tons and tons of cards, you would discard something for Masticore, you would wipe the battlefield with Masticore, and then you would swing with like the Masticore and the Morphling or whatever, and you would just go in for the kill. It's ridiculous. And I really kind of miss that stuff because it was way more interesting than what you see with like most blue decks nowadays. Because like I don't know, I always thought Drago was a really interesting style of play because it was very it was a lot more interestingly aggressive. It had like this whole interesting style and strategy to it that you just never see in like you know modern day Magic anymore. You just don't see it. And I mean, obviously, like cards like Morphling and like Masticore are considered not even very good anymore. Like they're considered like not very good cards at all because the play styles of modern day Magic just don't support that style, like those types of creatures anymore. Like there's no point because you, there's just better things. Like there's things that are a lot like there are cards that are just more aggressive and more I don't know, like just aggressive. I don't know what else to say. And it's, you know, I don't know. I kind of miss it. I used to, like, because I remember, like, I actually had, like, a Drago-style deck a long time ago. Like, I mean, it was in my early days of Magic, but it was also, like, when I was first learning how to play, like, you know, dickish mono blue. And I always thought that was really cool, like that style of Drago. And I mean, how blue is now, like, I'm not really a fan of it anymore. Like, I think blue as an idea for playing is kind of cool, but, like, I don't really like, how blue decks are currently. They're just not fun anymore. They don't have all the, like, I mean, blue decks have always been really kind of dickish, but never, like, not as dickish as how they are now. Well, I don't know. It's kind of hard to figure it out because, like, you know, blue can be pretty aggressive the older you get, but it's a different kind of aggressive now than it used to be. So, I don't know. I just don't like it. I don't like how it's turned out to be these days. It's not as entertaining. Let me catch up on the chat. I hate discard. I build decks to use those cards. Build decks to use those cards? I'm trying to understand the context of your comment, Wild Goat. Are you saying that you... Because, like, you say, I hate discard, but then right after that you say you build decks to use those cards? Does that mean you're building... Even though you hate discard, you build decks using discard? Like, I don't understand the full context of your comment, but... you can clarify it when you feel like it, or not at all. Morphling would probably still be OP if damage still used at the stack. Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with the idea of, like, them not putting damage on the stack anymore. And here's the thing. First of all, I actually have a copy of Morphling in my collection, like the original old-school Morphling. And I just have it because I think it's cool. I don't have it in my cube or anything like that. But what I do have in my cube is all of the modern Morphlings. So, like, I have Thornling, Torchling, Brightling, Endling, and Aetherling. So I have all 5 of the modern lings, and they're all in my cube. And here's the thing, like, I don't play using, like, you know, like, I don't play with damage on the stack, obviously, because I always agreed with the idea that I thought that damage on the stack didn't really make sense, because, like, if a creature, like, you know, like, the whole thing of, like, whenever I think of why damage on the stack doesn't make sense, I think of, uh, Mog Fanatic. Mog Fanatic broke damage on the stack. It totally broke it. And it's one of the perfect example, like looking at how um, Mog Fanatic broke damage on the stack is like a perfect example of like why damage on the stack didn't make sense and why I was okay with them getting rid of it. And because it doesn't make sense, it really doesn't. Like the idea of Mog Fanatic being able to hit for 1 damage and then immediately sacrifice itself and deal a 2nd damage didn't make sense. It really didn't. So I was okay with the idea of them getting rid of that. However, here's what I will say though, is that the Morphling creatures, like the modern Morphlings, they're in my cube, and guess what? Even though there isn't damage on the stack, they're so powerful. They're still super strong. Like, the last time my best friend came over to play cube with me, I actually whopped him in the face with Brightling, which is the white Morphling. It absolutely destroyed him. It was so powerful. And, like, you can still do all the stuff where, like, you know, you just have to... Like, the secret to playing with the modern Morphlings is you just have to keep track of... you just have to keep track of when all of the priority steps are. Like, that's the only trick to it. As long as you can always remember, like, for example... me and my best friend my best friend who plays Cube with me, we actually wrote out when all of the priority steps occur in a single turn, so that we could memorize them. And so, for example, like when you enter into your combat step, there's the main priorities that matter are you declare your attackers. And then, after attackers have been declared, you then enter priority. And then basically, that's when you're allowed to start triggering effects on the modern Morphlings. And then, after that priority passes through, you then enter declare blockers. And then, after blockers have been declared, you then enter the next priority. And then after that priority ends, damage begins. So, like, and that's good to know because that means that your opponent can declare his blockers. And then, after he's declared his blockers, you can then trigger the abilities of your modern Morphlings during that priority before damage is dealt. So, like, you can't do the bullshit where, like, you can boost your Morphling to have like 5 power and then immediately lower it to have 5 toughness. Like, you can't do that. And that makes sense. But you can still boost them up to 5 power and then have the damage dealt and everything works out. And it's still really cool and really fun. And it's just not broken. Like, it actually feels right on how it's done. And I really liked it. And like I said, like, I played a game, like, literally I think it was like last week with my best friend, and I whopped him in the face with Brightling, the white Morphling. And I did all that stuff. I would do all of the tricks with Brightling during the priority steps, and it just absolutely destroyed him. It was so brutal. It was awesome. So, like, the Morphlings still have a lot of power to them, but they're not broken anymore. And I feel like that's why people don't really like them anymore, is because they're not broken anymore. Let me catch up. I'm sorry. Morphling would probably... Yeah, I read that from Man Cave. I build decks to use cards, not discard them. Okay, I get that, Wild Goat. I can understand that understanding. But I also like... I'm also going to move this card and get another color going, because I need another color. So I really like I like cards that, you know, allow shenanigans with other zones. So, like, for example, I like the idea... I have a Reanimator deck. I do. I mean, I don't really play it. Like, as you guys know, like, I actually have a whole bunch of decks that I won't break apart because I have, I like them. Um, but I pretty much never play them because I basically only play Cube. But I have them if there's ever a reason that I want to play with them or something like that. And one of the decks in my collection that I have is a Reanimator deck. And the whole deck is all about discarding as many cards as you possibly can as fast as possible, and then reanimating everything you discard. So like, I like that kind of stuff. I like cards that give you really big effects at the price of discarding cards because you can abuse that. And that's a lot of fun to me. I think that that's a really cool effect. So that's why like I don't have problems with cards that require discarding and things like that. I think it's really cool. And I also really love cards that are obscenely powerful, but they use discarding as a drawback. Because in my opinion, when I see a card that's really powerful, and they're like, don't worry, we balance this card by having a discard effect. And you're like, I can break that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I love that feeling. It's like, you didn't balance, like, generally you kind of balanced it, but there are so many ways to break that ability because you can break discarding. For example, like, one of my favorite things is, like, in the War of the Sparks set, in my opinion, one of the most powerful cards in the whole set is Vivian's Arc Bow. And I will never forget the first time I saw that card. I was so excited about that card specifically because it says you have to discard something to activate it. And I was like, that is so amazing! Like, because the first thing that my brain thought when I saw that is, because Vivian's Arc Bow is a legendary artifact, which is another way they tried to balance it. They balanced Vivian's Arc Bow in 3 different ways. They balanced it by making it mono-green, they balanced it by making it a discard effect, and they balanced it by making it legendary. So, and they did a great job with it. They balanced it well. But the thing is that makes it so awesome is you can discard. So, like, you can run 4 copies of Vivian's Arc Bow in a deck. And if you have Vivian's Arc Bow out in play, and you draw another Vivian's Arc Bow, it's not a dead card because you can discard the Vivian's Arc Bow to the Arc Bow in play and get something that you actually want. That's awesome. Like, I love that. That's amazing. And, like, that's why, like, I love stuff like that, because it's like, they're using discard as a drawback, but at the same time, you can break it. You can break it if you put your brain to it, you know? I love stuff like that. So I'm making basically a kind of greenish-blue color here. It's more heavily in the blue coloration than it is in the green. And the reason why is because there's kind of this misty effect going on the card. And the misty effect, I've noticed, kind of has a greenish tinge to it. So I'm trying to get that greenish coloration in the blue, so that way I can apply it properly to the card. So I'm going to take some of this blue, this greenish blue that I made. I'm going to put it right over here. And I'm going to try to get this color off of my paintbrush because I want to use it. Let me catch up on the chat while I'm doing this. Morphling would probably still be OP. Yeah, I already read that. I'm sorry. I keep rereading older stuff. Masticore made you discard. Morphling broke damage on the stack for me. Yeah, Morphling, like, I feel like Morphling and Mog Fanatic are the 2 best examples of cards that proved that damage on the stack was a problem. Like, they really did a great job at showing that. And I mean, like, the thing is that, like I said, like, the Morphling cards are still really good cards. Like, I think they're really good, and I still play with them. And, like, when me and my best friend play my cube, and one of the modern Morphlings comes out on the table, whoever's side it's on, we're scared. Like, I mean, if I you know, if when he sees Brightling hit the table, he's immediately afraid and he's got to deal with it somehow. If he sees, like, I remember one time he threw down, what's that green one called? Thornling? I had no answer to it and it murdered me. Like, I had absolutely no way to deal with it whatsoever. And that thing absolutely murdered my face. Like, they're still really powerful cards. And, like, when we see them on the table against us, we're frightened. Like, they're scary cards. Like, they will probably always be that way, but you just have to be, like... The thing about it is that, yeah, they're not broken, but goddamn, they are powerful, guys. Like, they are powerful cards. They do not screw around. Strong, strong cards. And also, I want to play with an Aetherling. I've had an Aetherling in my cube, and I still haven't seen it in play. I've seen all of... No, I haven't seen all of them. I have... the black one I haven't seen play yet. And also the blue one, which is Aetherling, I haven't seen play with. But they seem so obscenely powerful, and like the Aetherling especially. Because the Aetherling, like, it's hold on, I'm going to test this color real quick just to make sure. Hey, it looks pretty good. So the Aetherling is, like, it can avoid pretty much almost every form of removal in Magic. There's only, if I remember correctly, there are only 3, like, if an Aetherling hits the board and there's mana open to, like, protect it, there are only 3 cards in Magic that can kill an Aetherling. Like, it's so scary. Like, think about that. Think about the idea of a card that there are only 3 answers to it in the entire game of Magic. Like, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of cards in Magic the Gathering, and this one particular powerhouse card, there's only 3 answers to it in the entire game. Like, that's so scary. Like, you know what I mean? It's absolutely intimidating. And so I haven't actually been able to play with it in the cube yet, because none of us have picked it up when we draft the cube yet. But I can't wait. I have a foil Aetherling, so I'm really excited to get it out and have a chance to play with it. But yeah, it's like... I think that's cool. Like, I like the idea that it's just this powerhouse card, and like you can kill it if like the opponent is like tapped out and doesn't have like mana to keep it alive. But if they do have mana to keep it alive, like, it's like if they have at least 1 blue mana available to keep the Aetherling alive, you're screwed. Like, you can't deal with it. I mean, you have to have, like, one of the cards that you need to kill an Aetherling is, you need, Pithing Needle. Pithing Needle is one of the 3 cards that can kill an Aetherling. And, like, oh, I can't remember all the cards. It's, like, Pithing Needle, and, I think if you... I was going to say, like, Diabolic Edict, but I think Diabolic Edict can be avoided, too, with Aetherling's ability. I'm not totally sure. I'll have to look it up again, but there's, like, only 3 cards in the entire game that can actually kill an Aetherling, which I think is so cool. Because, I mean, like, how often is it that you see cards that are like, oh yeah, you can't kill this. Like, you just can't. Like, don't even try. Like, you know? And that was always really funny to me, because, like, I was reading some old comments about Aetherling, and, like, it was so weird. So for anybody who doesn't know, Aetherling originally came out in Dragon's Maze in Magic, which was years ago, and which was, like, the second Ravnica block. And so people were, like, talking about how the card was going to break Modern. Like, they were just like, Aetherling's going to break Modern, and, like everybody was making this big deal about it. And mind you, this was back in, I think it was like 2012 or 2013, probably 2013. And yeah, Counterspell. Thank you. Yes, Counterspell will kill an Aetherling. Thank you very much. That's very true. That's one of the 3 cards that can kill an Aetherling. And I mean, obviously, you know, like Remove Soul, Essence Scatter, like those cards will kill an Aetherling. You know, obviously, all counter spells that can counter like a creature can kill Aetherling. But anyways, what was really weird was I was reading the old comments from back in like 2013 and 2014 when Aetherling was in Standard. And people were screaming about how the card was going to break Modern and how it was like this insane card that nobody could handle. And like what was really bonkers to me was there was a comment that I read that was dated all the way back to like 2013 or 2014, and it was like the comment literally said like, this card is currently like $10. Buy your copies now before it spikes in price and it breaks Modern. So people were like making this big deal about Aetherling and buying it for like $10 a copy. So I bought a foil Aetherling recently. You want to know how much it cost me? $3. I bought a foil Aetherling, from Dragon's Maze for $3. And like back in like 2013, oh yeah, sudden death will kill it too. Thank you. Anyways, that's probably the 3rd card that they said would kill it. But they were talking about how it was at $10, and everybody was trying to like buy them at $10 because they were afraid that it was gonna spike because they thought it was gonna break Modern. And like, look at it now. Like, you can buy foils of Aetherling for $3, and it's like the card didn't have the impact that everybody thought it was gonna have. And like, I feel like that's in the, like, because I was talking about like power creep and stuff like that. Like, that's just more proof to the concept of like power creep and how like, you know, like it's just that, you know, they made all these speculations about like how insanely overpowered it was going to be, and then it just didn't do that. Like, not at all. But I mean, I still think it's a really powerful card. It's fun to play. It's just not, you know, a game-breaking card. And I'm okay with that. Like, I think that that's all right. I kind of like the idea that, you know, it's a fun card. It's really obscenely powerful if you know what you're doing, but it's not format breaking, you know? And I mean, there's still always the whole thing about, like, well, there are cards to kill it, but it's just like, you know, obviously anybody playing blue and running counter spells is going to be, you know, all over that shit. You know, like, they're going to destroy Aetherling with counter spells. But I mean, if you're not playing blue, like, if you're fighting somebody and they're not playing blue, like, your Aetherling is going to murder. Because they either have to have a Pithing Needle or they have to be playing black and running sudden death. So, like, and now that I think about it, I think Aetherling might be too big to be killed by a sudden death. Because sudden death is -4/-4, right? I'm double checking really quick, and I think Aetherling might be like a 4/5. Let me see. Looking it up really quick, just out of curiosity. Okay, you're gonna make me put in the L, huh? There we go. Okay, so yeah, so Aetherling is a 4/5. So you can't actually kill it with sudden death because sudden death is -4/-4. So the only way that that you'd be able to kill an Aetherling with sudden death is if you cast it after they had boosted the Aetherling to be like if they made it into a 5/4, then you could cast sudden death and kill it. But if it's still a 4/5, sudden death won't even touch it. Like, it won't do anything to it. Okay, so let me kind of show you guys what I've done with this so far, just to kind of take a break for a minute. And I'm going to turn off the light and see if... Oh, it's very dark in here. I guess the light is... Now that it's dark enough in my room, it seems like the light is actually helping. So this is what we got so far. Let me kind of get it in the right angle here. I'll bring it nice and close so we can all see it. So that's what we got going on with this card so far. I'm going to change the hue of the darker blue just a little bit to kind of make it blend better. It doesn't need too much. Maybe just like a tiny bit of black is what I'm thinking. Let's see here. Let me see if I can just use the base blue and see if it'll get me close. I'm going to just try and use some light shading to it to see if it works better. Just very light, very light. I might still have to add black. I don't know. Let me kind of just get a bit more in there. There. How's that look? It's close. It's very close. I'm still thinking, though, that the black, if I add some black, that's going to help it. Yeah, let me, yes, oil spill bird from the Gulf. Goodness gracious. Alright, so I'm going to, mix just a little bit of black in here. Let me kind of bring this back out again. God, this crane is so cool, guys. I love it. I love it so much. It's so cool. Like I said, I spent so much time working on it, and it makes me so happy that I can just be like, whoop, whoop, whoop. Oh, I'm having a great time over here, messing around with my new setup. Alright, so let's get some black going into this blue. Kind of grab some of this blue, throw it right there. Give me some more of that. There we go. And there was something interesting that I was thinking about because I didn't really realize this until after I bought it. Because I was talking about the morphlings and all that, like all the modern morphlings. So one of the things that... So I literally have every single modern morphling in my cube. And I even have the gold morphling, which a lot of people might not know off the top of their heads, but the gold morphling is Wind Reaver. For anybody that knows Wind Reaver, it was printed in Dissension, and it was white and blue Azorius, and it has really awesome... Tell Code Amoeba I said hi next time y'all talk. Code Amoeba? Oh, wait, are you talking about my dad? I feel like you might be I'm not sure. I kind of vaguely recall that, but I can't quite remember. You must be talking about my dad, because now that I realize you're not saying code ellipsis amoeba, you're saying code amoeba as in like a coder, like programming. So I'm assuming you're probably talking about my dad. I didn't tell him about the... Yeah, he is a code amoeba. Okay. I didn't actually tell him about today's stream. I probably should have, but I forgot to because I was so focused on getting everything set up. So he's not here tonight, but I will definitely let him know that you said hi. He likes you, Wild Goat. He likes you. He thinks you're a cool dude. So I will definitely tell him that you said hi. But yeah, anyways, I was talking about all the different morphlings. And so I have all of the morphlings. I have the gold one too, Wind Reaver. But I was thinking to myself at one point, like, oh man, is there an artifact morphling? Like a colorless morphling? Because if so, I want to get my hands on it. And I want to put it in my cube. So I spent a whole bunch of time trying to find an artifact morphling, like a colorless morphling. And I couldn't find one. Like, no matter how hard I tried, I could not find one. And so I was like, oh, well, I guess my morphling, because like I said, my goal was to kind of collect every single morphling in the game and put it in my cube. And so I could have the whole cycle of them. And I was like, oh, I'm sad because I will probably never have a colorless morphling, ever. And I'm kind of sad about that. But then, because I was talking about Masticore, and I bought myself a Masticore and put it in my cube, and then I realized, it was today that I realized it. Like, it was, earlier today after I was, like, kind of reviewing the cards that I bought for my cube. And I was looking over Masticore really heavily. And I thought to myself, oh my god, Masticore is a colorless Morphling. Because, like, I mean, he's not quite a Morphling, but the thing is that, first of all, he was played in the decks that used Morphling for the same purpose of what Morphling was used for in the decks that Morphling was running. And the other thing is that he has a ability that protects him, which is important to pretty much all Morphlings, pretty much, which is regeneration. And then he has an ability that it doesn't make him stronger, but it allows him to kill other creatures on the other side of the board and be sneaky about it. So, like, I realized, like, after thinking about it for a little bit, Masticore is the colorless Morphling. And I didn't think about that when I bought him, but I realized, like, I unintentionally bought the colorless Morphling without even realizing it. And I thought that was kind of cool. Like, because I now officially kind of look at it as Morphling is the, hello, Eevee Dragon. I don't recognize you right away. Welcome to the stream. If I do in fact know you, it's good to see you. Let me know. If I know you from somewhere else and I just don't realize it, let me know. But thank you for joining the stream. Come and hang out and kick it with us. We're having a good time. I am painting a Death's Head Buzzard, and I'm also using a new camera setup. Let me bring that kind of close so you can see better what I'm working on. Let's bring it real nice and close. Let's turn it this way a little bit. Maybe like right there. Oh, I had it and then I lost it. Maybe. Ah, there it is. Oh, there it is. Okay, so obviously you guys can probably tell. I made the color way too dark. But yeah, this is the Death's Head Buzzard, and it's what I'm working on today. And I gotta fix my color here. I gotta make it look better. So the way I'm gonna do that is I'm probably going to try and overlap it with my regular blue, and we'll see how that looks. Hopefully it'll look all right. Let's try it out. Or it'll just make it way darker, which is not what I want. So I'm thinking I'm going to have to add. Yeah, it's way too dark. It's way too dark. So let's fix that. Let's work on that real quick. So let me see. Where's the color I was using? There it is. Okay, so I'm going to just kind of try to thin it out across here to kind of blend it. Like, as you can see, like, it's lighter, but also because I'm kind of, I'm spreading it out really thin, so that keeps the darkness of the overall color, but it also lightens it up ever so slightly, just to get it closer to the right coloration. So I'm going to add just a little bit more to it. I gotta wet my brush first. But yeah, so now that I've, based on what I was talking about earlier, now that I've considered the idea that Masticore is in fact a colorless Morphling, I feel like I can properly say I have every Morphling in my cube. Like, it's kind of cool. And that was a cycle that I really wanted to do. I wanted to get every single Morphling and put all of them in my cube. And I have a couple other cycles that I really want to do in my cube, like, that are like every particular color. But they're going to take more time because most of them are really expensive cards. Like, for example, one of the cycles that I'm trying to work on to complete in my cube is I want to own all of the Paraders, all of the Phyrexian Paraders. And I have 2 of them so far. I have, obviously I have the absolutely amazingly and powerful Alesh Norn, and I also have Vorinclex. So I have Vorinclex and Alesh Norn. And the only ones I'm missing are I'm missing Urabrask. Um, what's the blue? Urabrask the Hidden, which is the red one. I'm missing. What is the black one called? Sheoldred. Sheoldred is the black one, and the blue one is oh geez, his name just slipped my mind. I think it starts with an S. I'll remember it later. Um, I thought I had it for a minute there, and then I realized I didn't. Um, but yeah, I'm trying to get all the paraders into my cube. So that's another cycle I'm trying to complete. Um, hmm, what else? There were a couple other cycles I was trying to do. I'm trying to remember them. Can't quite remember. I'm trying to think of them right now, but they're not coming to me. But yeah, like I just want to, you know, I just like the whole thing about my cube is that it's just like all sorts of fun cards and stuff like that. And the whole goal is that it's the design of the cube is to make the absolute most fun um, magic environment possible. Like that's what it's all about. It's all about having fun. It's not about like winning. It's not about like the absolute hand. Like I mean, there's a lot of really powerful stuff in it, but it's not like I don't know. There's like no draft chaff in it. Like every card is like so. The whole point of my cube is every single card that you draft is supposed to feel amazing when you draft it. Like there are like the whole point is that there are no bad cards in the cube at all. This is out of the way a little bit. There we go. So I'm going to start adding in some black to kind of fill in the wings here. Figured that might be a good way to kind of get this going a little faster. And I'll kind of add in some other colors as it comes along. But I want to get these black wings started. So there we go. But yeah, so I love the cube. It's the I don't know. It's like I said. Like I mean, as you guys have known from me talking about it, so Jin Gytaxius. Thank you. His name is such like out of all the names, and like all of the names of all of the Praetors are very weird. But for some reason, Jin Gytaxius is like the weirdest of all the names. I can never remember it. It's probably the Jin part that always throws me off. And you know, I could have probably said Gytaxian probe, and that would have triggered it. But you know, obviously that's not what happened. But yeah, so I love playing cube. It's just the best way to play Magic. Like I mean, I have yet like I mean I used to play a long time ago. I used to be really into Commander, and like once I learned how to play, like once I built my cube and started playing cube, I could never play Commander ever again. Like I just couldn't. It was just I'm gonna move this out of the way so I can kind of so you guys can see me move the card around and it's not too bad. But once I started playing cube, I was never like Commander was just not fun anymore. Like straight up, like that's how fun cube was to me. Is like playing any other form of Magic. Like I always said to myself, like I would play like me and my friends would try and play like our decks again, or like we would play EDH every once in a while. Like very rarely we'd play like EDH or we'd play like some of our modern decks or something, and like it's just not fun. Like it's like God, this is like not cube. You know, it's just it's not cube. Like I don't know what else to say about it. It's not cube, and like we've gotten into situations too where it's like me and my best friend, like we will recount like the best games of cube that we've played. Like I mean, like for example, like one of my favorite stories of playing cube was I got like this 100% true story. I got my best friend down to 1 life, and I was just about to kill him, and on his next turn, like, I got him down to 1 life, and I didn't have any way to take that 1 last life away from him until my next turn. And then on his turn, he top-decked Platinum Angel, which is in my cube. He top-decked Platinum Angel, and then cast it. And then he proceeded to win the game 10 turns later after casting Platinum Angel, and I had no answer to get rid of the Platinum Angel at all. Like, that was one of the best games I've ever played in my entire life. I lost, but it was so cool because I got him down to 1 life, and he top-decked Platinum Angel, and then it prevented him from dying, and then he killed me in the next 10 turns while he was sitting at negative life. Like, how often do you get to play games like that? Like, that's the kind of stuff that happens in Cube. You never know what's going to happen in Cube. Like, it's amazing. Like, I love it. Like, you know, and, like, having games like that, like, you don't get to, like, ever experience those kind of, like, really fun, crazy experiences in most other formats. Like, you know? I don't know. I love it. I love it. It's like I said, like, I can't play any other type of Magic anymore because Cube is so vastly superior in my opinion. Okay. I'm still adding in this black coloration here. And I'm going to have to hit it with my toothpick because I'm making all sorts of mess around the mana symbols. But that's really easy to fix. Like, that's what I like about the toothpick. It's literally my paintbrush eraser. I made a few of my own cycles in my cube. Best 1 mana instant cards, best 2 mana creatures. That's really cool, Man Cave. Like, I actually, like, because you mentioned having, like, the best 2 mana creatures. I want to get, like, I want some of those too. Like, I want to get my hands on, I want a Snapcaster Mage, which is, like, obscenely expensive, but I want one specifically for my cube. And I also want a, excuse me, I want a, Dark Confidant for my cube as well. And, but the problem is they're so obscenely expensive. It's really hard to, find, relatively cheap copies. So that's something that I aim for eventually. And another card that is on my watch list to buy for the cube is, and like, it's actually not too bad. I've been noticing that it's been slowly getting cheaper. And actually, I think that it's getting cheaper because of power creep. I think it's literally starting to become considered, like, there was a time where this card was considered to be the single most powerful blue creature ever printed. And it's been getting cheaper and cheaper as time is going on, and I think it's because of power creep, like, straight up. I think that that's why. And that's, I mean, it's still very expensive, but, like, it's going down in price. It's, Vendilion Click. Vendilion Click has been going down in price very, very slowly, but it has been going down. I've been watching it. It's because I want a copy specifically for my cube, and so I've been watching it like a hawk, and it's still very expensive, but it's going down just a little bit at a time. Like I want to say like every month it goes down about, like, I don't know, like 2 to 5% every month or something like that, which is a lot. Like, that's a lot. Like, you know. And I think it's literally just because it's just not as powerful as it used to be. And it's still an obscenely powerful card, but it's just not, I don't know, it's just not what it used to be. But I will get my hands on a copy of it eventually. Like, I will, because I want it, and I will get it. I just want it to get to a price that I find appropriate. That's basically what I'm waiting for. And it's not quite there yet. It's getting there, but it's not quite there yet. And there's a few other cards I'm watching too. Like I said, I only buy cards. I buy cards for only a few different reasons. I either buy them because I want to collect them. Like, in other words, like, they have art that I want, or the card is interesting or the card has a history to it. Like, for example, like I wanted to buy the old school Masticores because I'm nostalgic for them. They're very cool, even though they're not considered very powerful anymore. Um, but yeah, and so I mean, I don't really follow like cards. It was funny because I was actually I was having a conversation with Helfer Gamers. If you guys know who Helfer Gamers is, I don't know. I think it was in the chat earlier, but I don't. Let me see. Let me go back up. No, it looks like Helfer Gamers hasn't been in here today, which is fine. Snapcaster, Stoneforge, Tarmogoyf, Dark Confidant. Very nice, very nice. Yeah, those are definitely the best 2-mana creatures of. The only one you're missing is red. What's the best red one? Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. That's hard to figure out. Trying to think of what would be the best red. Because, like, here's the thing. Red is really complicated for best 2-drops because they're overshadowed by their best 1-drops. Like, for example, like, I could name off a handful of, like, the best 1-mana, like, the best red 1-mana drops ever printed. But there's not very many, like, 2-drops that are very spectacular for red. And I'm trying to imagine, like, what they would be, because I can't think of them off the top of my head. Grim Lavamancer, is he 2-mana or is he 3? Because I think Grim Lavamancer is a 3-mana card. Because if Grim Lavamancer is 2, then I would say that's probably the best 2-mana, like, red drop ever. But if not, then I'm not sure. I think he might be 3, though. I'd have to double-check that later. But yeah, I would love to get my hands on those cards. Snappy, Stoneforge, Tarmogoyf, Dark Confidant, those cards are broken. Maybe, you know what? Maybe not Stoneforge. Does Stoneforge only search for equipment, or does it search for all artifacts? I think it's only equipment. And the thing is that I don't have very much equipment in my cube. I do have equipment in the cube, and obviously they're all like the broken pieces of equipment, but there's not very many of them. Like, there's not very many equipment in the actual cube itself. So, you know, I probably wouldn't use Stoneforge. But that's just me. That's just me. Like, the thing is that when it comes to working on the cube, like, there's a lot of factors that I take into consideration when I'm putting a card in. And, for example, like, fun fact about my cube, I would say that 50%, at least 50%, of all the artifacts in my cube are mana rocks. 50% of all the artifacts are mana rocks. It might be a little more than 50%, but that's just an average, I think. Oh, yeah, Dreadhorde Arcanist. There you go, dude. Good pick. Good pick. That card is so strong. And the thing is that, like, it's definitely gone up in price, but I still think that, like, in my opinion, I think Dreadhorde Arcanist is basically the red Snapcaster. It's basically red Snappy. And it's going to get more expensive. Like, I would say it's going to take some time before it gets to obscene prices. So, like, the best time to pick up Arcanist is actually already past, which is when War of the Spark first came out. That was the best time to get Dreadhorde Arcanist. But right now is probably a good time to get your hands on it, because it's just, I really think that card's just going to get more and more expensive. It's a red Snapcaster. Like, it's straight up a red Snapcaster. There's no way to get around that. Like, that's just what it is. So strong. So obscenely strong. Oh, my dark blue died on me and I was about to use it. Well, you know what? I think I'm going to stop here for now because we're about an hour and 30 minutes in. And we've made a lot of progress. And also, you know, I don't want to step on the toes of the other you know, streamers that I like to watch, like for example Mike and Cinder. So I'm probably going to go over there and hang out with them in just a little bit. This was a very late stream for me. I don't normally do streams this late, but I knew that I really wanted to do a stream today because I really wanted to test out this whole new setup. And I had a great time. I got to have fun. I got to test out the new setup. I got to show it off to you guys, and I got to paint a really fun and interesting card. So let me kind of show the progress that we did. So let me bring the camera just a little bit closer. Here, I'm going to kind of move this over just a little bit so we can kind of... Oh, God, that camera. Isn't this quality great, guys? I'm so happy about it. I'm so happy about the quality of this camera. It's so beautiful. Look at that. You can read the card. How amazing is that? You can read the card. Oh, God, it makes me so happy. So yeah, this is the progress that we've made today. And I'm pretty happy with how it looks currently. We're definitely going to have to work a little bit more on blending the blues a bit better, but it's very close to how I want it, and it looks really nice. Like, I really like this card a lot. Like I said, I explained it near the beginning of the stream. Grim Lavamancer is a 1-drop. I see. And Stoneforge is an equipment tutor. Yeah. So, like, no joke, because Stoneforge Mystic is an equipment tutor, I wouldn't put it in my cube. Like, Snapcaster, Tarmogoyf, and Dark Confidant would be acceptable in the cube because they're so... those cards are so general. Like, you know, because their abilities are so powerful in how general they are. Like, you know, Dark Confidant draws you cards, which is good no matter what. Snapcaster targets instants. I don't remember if it's sorceries, but I'm pretty sure it's instants for sure. And that's good in any color. And Tarmogoyf is just a big bad monster, so that's good in anything. But Stoneforge Mystic is so limited, it's only usable for equipment, which is very limited in my cube, so I would personally not pick that card. That's my opinion for that. I would not pick it because it's so limited in its use. Dreadhorde Arcanist would fit in there because he is, like I said, he's instants and sorceries, I think. So he's definitely a card that would fit in my cube as well. So yeah, all of them except for the Stoneforge Mystic would probably work out. Because it's so limited. And that's the thing, too, is that, like, limited cards, like, I have a lot of cards in my cube. For anybody who doesn't know, my cube is built out of 420 cards exactly. And the whole thing about it is that the build style of it is that... oh, Cinder just went live, so I have to wrap this up. The whole build of it is that the cards have to be flexible for everybody. And, like, so cards that are very limited in their usage, like I said, like Stoneforge Mystic is a perfect example of a card that would not make it into my cube because it's so very specific in what it does. So I would never put it in my cube. It would get the axe. So, and there's a lot of cards that I've had to, that are very powerful, but they've had to get the axe because they're so limited in what they do, even though they're very powerful. So, yeah, cube is fun. I encourage anybody that is curious to build a cube. Just start, like, my cube is built out of basically all the most powerful cards in my collection. And what's really nice is that it's, like, when you get singles of very powerful cards that, because they're singles, you can't put them in decks. Perfect for a cube, because cube is singleton. So anybody who's interested in trying a cube, build yourself a cube. It's a lot of fun. And just build it out of the most powerful stuff you have. It's great. And I mean also, like, just cards that you don't use on a regular basis are good targets for a cube. So try it out. So I really got to wrap this up. We're about an hour and 34 minutes in. So I got to finish this up. So thank you guys all for coming out. I had a really great time. We will be coming back to working on this card later. Possibly tomorrow. I actually have some things I have to do tomorrow, so I'm not sure if I'll have time to do a stream. So we'll see. I will definitely let you guys know if I'm doing a stream. Feel free to join the Discord to get updates on whether or not I'm going to be streaming or not. The Discord is also the same name as my channel. So if you look up in Discord my channel name, you can find it and you can join the Discord. So if this is your first time here, please, and you had a great time, please subscribe. Ring that notification bell so you guys know when I'm going to go live or do whatever. I also have a PayPal, which is in the description below. If you enjoyed the content and you want to donate, that's where you can donate. Or also, if you're interested in asking for a commission, then contact me in the Discord. Let me know that you're interested in a commission, and then you can pay me for the commission in the PayPal. Also, I added something new to the description. I actually now have a mailing address that you guys can send mail to. So if you want to send fan mail, if you want to send cards, if you're interested in a commission and you want to send me a card to paint for you guys, that's also where to do it. So check in the description below and you will find my new mailing address that you can send fan mail to or whatever. I had a great time, guys. Thank you so much for coming out. And as I always like to say, follow your dreams, because if you follow your dreams, they will get you to exactly where you need to be. So I will see y'all later. Bye, guys. Thanks for coming. I'll see ya.